Hi everyone, it's Jeff Spock, the narrative director of Amplitude Studios, back with another focus video for Dungeon of the Endless. The last one we did was about the monsters, the mobs you meet when you're playing the game. Now we're going to talk about the vessels, the different ships that you can unlock and play as you improve your expertise and your skills in the game. So the first one is the basic escape pod. That's what everybody starts with. It's a very good way to begin. No special bonuses, no special penalties. Use that one to level your first heroes, learn how to play the game, beat it a few times, even on the harder mode, which is known as easy. And then you move into the more specialized ones. Okay, I will try to present these roughly in order of difficulty, more or less, though it's going to depend on your personal playstyle, exactly which kind of vessel you're more familiar with or you find easier to play. First one is the Infirmary. Now that's very special because your heroes start with more life, but, and this is the tough thing, they don't auto-heal once the round of fighting the monsters is finished. So you have to be very careful about that. You'll have some extra drugs because it's an infirmary pod to help them along, but those may have secondary effects, so be careful. So you're probably going to want to go with a hero that has some special food bonuses or creation of food like the chef Nanor would be a good choice. Okay, so the next one is the Armory. Now the Armory has a particular difficulty because you start with 4 heroes and you don't get any more. So obviously you want to avoid death. You might play a little more carefully, a little more defensively. You can't construct any offensive modules either, so it's very much going to work on buffs and debuffs. You want a kind of a hero that has a lot of different skills. You're going to be good for getting around the dungeon without those offensive modules. For instance, Ken might be a good choice. Okay, the next one is the drill. Now this is a particular favorite of mine because it is endless, okay? Which means that you just keep playing and playing and playing to an infinite number of levels. Infinite equaling roughly a number like 999. But anyway, I don't think anyone's gotten there yet. If you do, please let us know. So you have no production modules to start with, so you have to be careful about that. You also have to think about keeping your heroes alive. The best kind of hero to have in this case is one whose late game skills are really powerful, like Mitzi, who when she gets to level 15, it becomes a really powerful hero. So think about playing somebody like that with that kind of skill when you have the drill. The next one is the library pod. Now what makes the library interesting is there's additional wit, because it's a library, but no weapons, because it's a library, but you have additional resources. So you can build a lot more modules, you can, build the rooms up a little more. And to play that way, because it's actually a very tower defense, maybe the purest tower defense of the different vessels, it's good to have a hero who can act at a distance and activate things in rooms they're not in. So for that reason, it's not bad to play with Josh, who, being a professor, should be in the library anyway. So the next vessel is the Refrigerator. This is very interesting because you only have one hero, a single hero that you play. And if the hero dies, it can be resuscitated by the energy crystal. However, it takes a lot of food to do that. So you have to keep your food resources really pretty high. If the food gets too low and the hero dies, that's game over. So very tough to play. Congratulations to the 0.2% of you who have finished the game with the Refrigerator. A good hero for this is one who's very, very multitasking, multi-skilled. Who can fight, who can run, who can operate, do a lot of different things. For that reason, a hero like Hikensha is pretty good. The most difficult of all the pods you can play the game is Sanitary. Why is it more difficult? Well, the mobs are tougher. If there's an event that happens in the dungeon, it's much more likely that it will be a negative event. Their heals cost more. Also, you cannot pause the game. So once you start, you're going all the way through to the end. Now, a good hero to play is Krayang, for instance, because when you use the artifact that does scientific research, all the mobs, all the monsters in the dungeon get excited, get activated, move faster, but Krayang also powers up at the same time, so that helps to counterbalance that a little bit. Regardless, it's by far, like I said, the most difficult, and Mr. Arts, our game designer, has gotten a lot of abuse for this one, but it's certainly, if you can beat the game on this, you're endless, man. It's great. Okay, so the last pod we're going to talk about now is the BioOrganic. Now this is great because it was created through G2G votes with the community. There was Siren555 who came up with the gameplay and Dot Beta who did the visuals. So what makes this pod special is it's living. It's a sort of living organism, and as you turn on the different rooms in the dungeon, it sort of inhabits them. What that means is you can't turn them off again. So you have to think very carefully about your gameplay and your strategy for how you activate those rooms as you find your way to the exit. So this pod should be really, really interesting to play. However, it's not in the game yet. The dev team is still working on it. That should be out in a couple of months. I'm looking forward to dying a few times playing that myself. So thanks for watching. We hope you're enjoying these focus videos. Please, as always, give us feedback on the forum, on Twitter, on Facebook, whatever, if you have any questions or comments. Until next time, see you later. Thanks from Amplitude Studios.